they brought up an issue or concern or feeling. Defensiveness says, here's why you're wrong to bring that up or feel that way. Defensiveness sounds like, whoa, it's not my fault. You're really going to make a big deal about that? Oh, okay, I guess I have to be perfect. You know you do the exact same thing to me. Stop acting like I'm the bad guy here. Can you see how what was missing in every single one of those defensive statements was any actual curiosity as to what the other person is experiencing or feeling? What was missing is any interest or intentionality to move towards their inner world or perspective, and put defensiveness in his top 4 predictors of divorce. And I get it. You feel unfairly blamed or attacked, and we default to defensiveness, or we shut down, or we dismiss them, or we use this as an opportunity to air all of our grievances against them, which only leaves them feeling unheard and abandoned, and they begin to no longer trust that we're a safe place to bring things up to, which might lead to less conflict now, but that's only because they're no longer angry enough to fight with us, and they're slowly giving up on this relationship.
Let me tell you something about marriage that a lot of people do not understand. A defensive spouse is a product of divorce. When your spouse is speaking to you, listen not to be defensive. Listen to understand. And don't respond to attack. Respond with a solution. Many people in marriage listen to be defensive, how they can make themselves seem correct in the situation. Others respond with an essence to attack. That is not communication. That is a fight and a war. Learn communication expertise in the area of marriage, and that is listen to understand and speak to be a solution in your union.
The fastest way to kill intimacy is constantly defending yourself. So look, every time that your wife brings up a concern and your first instinct is to explain, justify, or counter, you're choosing ego over connection. Leadership in marriage means that you don't need to win every single moment. So if she says, hey, I feel alone, and you respond with, well, that's not true, I've just been super busy. You just told her that your image matters more than her experience. A defensive man protects his reputation, but a secure man protects the relationship that he's in. Sometimes leadership sounds a little more like this. Hey, tell me more. Help me understand what's going on. I didn't realize that. You know what? Let me work on that. You don't shrink by taking responsibility. What happens is you grow. The strongest men that I know don't argue their wives into silence. They listen in their marriages. They listen.
You cannot connect properly with a woman physically unless you are connecting with her emotionally. You may feel good, my brother, but she don't. You always want a woman to be in a place where she feels connected to you emotionally. If she's not connecting with you emotionally, something deeper is going on with her. Maybe now she's bitter. So now you're resentful, you're bitter, you're angry because he want to talk about facts while all the while ignoring how you feel.
A man who gets defensive when you speak is hiding something. He interrupts you. He refrains your pain. He turns accountability into an attack. That's not a misunderstanding. That's self-protection. A man who refuses responsibility will always resist your truth.
If you can't be corrected, you are not a man who can be trusted. Many men see correction, especially from their wives, as somehow a threat to their masculinity and credibility, but resisting correction signals that I value my ego more than how I am being experienced. Trust is built on humility. Your wife and children can only follow a man they trust, someone who can actually admit their mistakes, who can listen and make the adjustments. And a man who ignores honest feedback from his partner risks making impulsive or pride-driven decisions that harm his family. I want you to think about it. If your wife tells you that, babe, I feel like when I speak, you don't really listen to me, you get defensive and dismissive, then you're only proving exactly why you can't be trusted. Your job as a leader is not to be right all of the time. It is to be teachable, is to be humble, and to be willing to accept the areas you need feedback on. So if you want your family to follow you willingly, then you have to first show them they can trust you. And one of those ways is being a man who is able to be corrected.
What if he gets defensive and avoids accountability? How much of a red flag is that? Look, someone who is unable to apologize is going to make a really, really difficult partner. I mean, that kind of partner over time will be a form of torture. Any relationship where you're the one who will move on from something for things to go back to normal is going to make your life miserable, because what they're showing is they can never grow. Because you're stuck with someone who will never grow. People who can take accountability can come back after having been defensive and say, I'm sorry I got mad. I'm sorry I, got defensive in that way. I was just, something about the situation really riled me up. I didn't behave well. I'm sorry. Someone can at least come back and do that as their secondary reaction, because the first step in being able to change something is accountability in the first place.
What happens in so many relationships is that
Let's say you're not happy about something, but you guys never make time to talk about it. So now it lingers. And in that lingering, now you're catching an attitude. Now they're mad at you, but they don't understand that at the root of it is this issue that was never expressed. So now they feel like you're being stupid or you're acting crazy or whatever. Now that turns into a lack of intimacy, because if she's feeling some type of way emotionally, she's not gonna be sexually receptive to her man. Now that turns into more resentment. It just dominoes, and it just gets worse and worse.
Biggest things that destroys marriages: defensiveness. A lot of men hear, hey, this hurt me, and they interpret it as, you're a horrible husband, you're an awful human being. Those aren't the same thing. Your wife bringing up an issue is not character assassination. It's just her communicating. It's basic communication. If your marriage is going to thrive, there has to be space for both people to honestly say, hey, this area ain't working. It goes both ways. Your wife should feel safe enough to tell you where she's struggling with you, and she should also be mature enough to hear where she needs to grow too. But you know what? You're the leader. You set the tone first. A strong man isn't going to just absolutely fall apart when he's confronted. He's going to listen, process, take accountability, and then take action. Leadership in marriage isn't avoiding any of these hard conversations. You're going to create safety inside of them. Most arguments aren't actually about the issue itself. They escalate because one or both people just feel unheard or dismissed, defended against. Your wife is usually not saying, you're evil. She's just saying, I want us to work better together. That mindset shift alone can change your marriage.
Why is it that we have the tendency of immediately getting defensive? Why do we always want to flip the narrative and point out that they don't have the right to call us out because they do things just as bad? Why is it so difficult for us to say, damn babe, you're right, I'm sorry? I actually got a few reasons as to why that might be, so buckle up, we're going to therapy. For starters, I feel like some of us brothers believe that we are above reproach. We have the real stance that since we are not children, we are not going to be corrected for anything that we do because we don't feel like we do anything wrong. And then, instead of taking advantage of the wonderful learning opportunity that is correction, we see it as our manhood being challenged and we get defensive. Another reason you might act up when your wife corrects you is because you do not see her in the way that you should. A lot of men do not see their wives as emotionally intelligent women who actually have good perspectives on their behavior, but rather as women who are nagging all the time, and that is just an unfortunate place to be in. A harsher way to put it would be, you don't value your wife's opinion because you think you're better than her. But my brother, let me remind you of something. The word of God refers to wisdom as a woman. It personifies wisdom as a woman. So if there's one person that you should be listening to when they attempt to correct you, it's your wife. And one more thing, if you married a woman whose opinion you do not value, isn't it your intelligence that should be questioned? We have been trained to react, not to respond. It is very possible that as a man, life has conditioned you to be reactive, not responsive to certain situations. Because unfortunately, in many scenarios, our response is not enough and we need a reaction to be heard. And I'll be very transparent with you, that right there is something that I am guilty of. We go through life in fight or flight mode, and then when correction comes about, we get defensive immediately. I had to learn that I cannot be reactive with my wife, and I have to learn to be responsive with her. Why? Because she is a wise woman, and I have to understand that she is loving and caring enough to bring things to my attention and believes in me enough to fix it. And I'm not gonna lie, it does take a lot of healing to get over that. I believe the reason many of you men love to argue with your wives when she corrects you is because you have no intention of fixing what she is correcting you about. You know damn well that when you apologize, it's going to be a fake apology. Which, by the way, that's called manipulation. So instead of acknowledging that you actually did mess up, you attempt to change her mind and to gaslight her, the actual definition of gaslighting, by the way. And you want to get that out of her brain so you can continue doing what you're doing. If that is you, please Google therapist near me and run to that office because you, my brother, need professional help.
She comes to you to express an emotion and you take it personally. You take it as an attack. You get defensive, you get reactive, and you shut down. You try to do everything in your power to prove why the things that she is saying and how she is feeling isn't true. You meet her emotion with your logic. You feel criticized, you feel like you're not enough in some way, and she feels unseen, unheard, invalidated, and she feels like you don't understand her. Over time, all this does is it erodes her trust in your ability to lead the relationship in the way that she needs. This causes breakdowns in intimacy. It stops her from being as soft and nurturing and caring as she could be, and it gets to the point where she feels like she has to be the one to lead the relationship. All that's happening in these moments is there's something from your past that is being triggered. It's an old wound. If in the past you were criticized a lot when you were younger, or you didn't get the emotional validation or approval or love that you needed, maybe you had to earn love, you feel like that when she's criticizing you, you're going to be rejected or abandoned again. So it's up to you to heal that part of you so you can initiate yourself into that healthy masculine leadership. When you do that, you restore her trust in you to be the man that she needs. You do this by healing the inner child. You get to the root of the wound. You meet that part of you that feels criticized, that shuts down, that gets defensive, that gets reactive. You have to meet that part of you and give him the things that he needed. You have to become the man that you needed when you were younger. And then, and only then, when you do that, can you then stay calm and grounded and centered during conflict and not take everything that she's saying as an attack. And the knock-on effect of that is she starts to trust you again, the intimacy starts to return, and she can trust you to create that emotional safety that she needs within that dynamic. Gone are the days of women just needing men to provide physically and materially and financially. It's not that anymore. They need emotional safety, they need that emotional support, they need you to be their anchor. That is your responsibility as the masculine in that relationship.
Your lady, fellas, is telling you how you hurt her, pain you caused, made her cry, and here's what you do. You hold up a shield. She's talking about the pain, and you hold up the shield. Defensiveness, self-protection. You start defending your innocence. Instead of listening to how she feels, you got the shield up. Put your shield down. Stop getting so defensive. Stop trying to ward off this perceived attack. She's not attacking you. She's expressing how she feels. When you put your shield up, you acting like you an innocent victim. You ain't no innocent victim. You complicit to the problem, man. That's why she crying. That's why she trying to have the conversation. Because in this moment, she doesn't need a shield. She needs understanding. In this moment, she doesn't need a shield. She needs to be validated. In this moment, she don't need your shield. She needs a hug. In this moment, she don't need a shield.